welcome. Welcome back to Fl'AwesomeBlossom. My name is Kiki and I am absolutely delighted, privileged, and proud to be your host. Thank you so very much for coming and visiting with me once again in the little corner of whimsy that I have carved out from my den. How are you enjoying the flowers? I'm personally loving them. All right, mes petits choux, my precious petals, and my darling dahlias. We are going to jump in to a story from the greatest story ever told. And I'm going to do a retelling of one of the stories in the Bible. And I'm going to do it Kiki style, right? I'm going to do it the way I tell my stories. Now, the first thing I want to say here is that this is not a disparagement against Christianity whatsoever. I'm a big fan of the teachings of Jesus Christ. I'm just not 100% sure if I'm going to be calling myself a Christian, mostly because there's some challenges, there's some problems in the Bible. This book is a little bit problematic because it's been weaponized, it's been translated, and there's a lot of things that get lost in translation. Because as we know, words are so important. And when you are translating something, it can go very badly, right? It can go very badly. So there's problems with that as well. And that's one of the reasons why I don't call myself a Christian, because when you say that, there's an expectation that you take the Holy Bible to be complete truths and that you live by this particular book. And I think this book is a super great guideline for Human 101, but I think there's a lot in there that needs to be flushed out. And what we've done is we've created these religions where there's a lot of gatekeeping. So I'm not really sure how many people have actually read the Bible front to back and absorbed the stories. Not just like, oh yeah, I know about David and Goliath and the little guy wins. Well, that's true. The little guy does win, but I need you to use your logic brain about it a bit. Like it sounds like a great story when you're just like, oh yeah, some kid came and he killed this giant. Woo! But you got to flush it all out. And this story is in 1 Samuel, and it starts really, there's a prologue to David, which you should probably be familiar with. So I guess really, let's say this, it's, you should really read from chapters 14. That's the beginning of the prologue. You need that preamble to understand the scenario at play when David comes into the picture. So truly, chapter 14 all the way through to, let's just go 20. Just chapter 20, because that sets you up. This is when we get introduced to David, and it's his big entrance into the Bible. And what an entrance, and what a first event for him. He certainly makes a name for himself, and he's God's chosen one, right? So let's get into this. I'm gonna tell you the story, and we're gonna flush it out a little bit. I'm gonna be reading from the Bible. So today, I'm going to be using my absolutely gorgeous King James Holy Bible, and we're gonna be reading the story of David and Goliath. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I'm going to tell you the story, right? But the first thing I want to show you, we're going to look at this again. I know I showed you this before when I showed you my Bibles, but I want you to look. I want you to look at this. This is Michelangelo's David. We got a close-up of his face, and I really want you to look at this face. Look at that beautiful boy, handsome boy, right? He's a young boy. You can tell he's a young teenager, probably like 13, 14. He's got no facial hair, not even the suggestion of stubble. But I want you to look at the expression on this face, and we are going to get to that in a little bit. And then here he is. Here's the body of David as imagined by Michelangelo. And in the Bible, it does give him a quick physical description, and it's basically saying like he's good looking and he's got a good body on him, but that he's young, and it really emphasizes that he's young. So you can probably look at this kid who's like around 13, 14. I mean, you can see those muscles are developing, but he's not at the height of his physical strength. He's just stepping into his strength, right? When we meet David, he's still young, and he has the potential to be a man that is well muscular and in real control of his body. Okay, but right now he's a young boy who's just getting his muscles, right? Who's through the work of his life, which is a shepherd. He's developing the strong, lean muscles that shepherds tend to have, right? Shepherds walk a lot. They walk with their flocks, and they are protecting them from the wild beasts. So let's just do a quick recap. Do we know where all of this takes place? The battle between David and Goliath takes place just outside of Bethlehem. So we're in the Old Testament, right? We're in 1 Samuel chapters 15 through 20. And Jesus hasn't come around yet, right? It's Old Testament. We don't know anything about Jesus yet. But I don't think it should be looked over that we're in Bethlehem for God's chosen one. God has a conversation with Samuel and says, you got to get yourself to Bethlehem because I've basically picked out someone there that's going to be my champion. And Samuel is conflicted when he's going to Bethlehem because not too long ago, God promised him that Saul was going to be the king of Israel, and he's going to be the king of kings, and he's going to be like a great ruler, and he's going to be God's champion. So like Samuel went out, sought out Saul, and got him to that position, and Saul became king. And, you know, the Lord came down to Samuel and said, hey, you got to go hang out with Saul again, and you got to tell him to do this thing for me. I need him to go to this particular area. I believe it's the Amorites. And you need to kill them. And you need to like kill them all. Like don't leave anything behind. Yeah, the Amalekites. And don't, like, you gotta like level it. God's like, you gotta make sure you tell him, destroy it all. And Saul gets this message from Samuel. Hey, you're on a mission from Gad. All right. You gotta go, and you gotta go to Amalek, and you have to completely wipe everything off the planet that is a part of Amalek. Okay? People, animals, crops, level that shit. And Saul's like, gotcha. And also Samuel's like, remember, this is for the Lord. And Saul's like, I got you. I got it. I'm on it. And he goes, and they have this great big battle, and he kills everybody. But as they are killing the crops and the livestock, as per the order, you know, they're like, we're doing this for God. We're doing this for the Lord. So Saul, he's like, hey, why don't we keep the best sheep, the best oxen, the best of these things, and we'll sacrifice them to God. But let's bring them back to our neck of the woods first. And so they do this, right? They've destroyed all the people of Amalek, and then they come back with the spoils of war. And they're intending to sacrifice this to the Lord. And so Lord sends Samuel to go and check, hey, go check on Saul, make sure he did what I asked him to do. And when Samuel arrives, he's like, what are these sheep and oxen doing here? I told you Like God told me and I told you that you have to go there and you have to like destroy everything. Don't hold anything back. Completely destroy it all. And you know what? Maybe this could have been avoided if God had just come directly to Saul. I think there was like a game of telephone that went on here, right? So God spoke to Samuel. Samuel got these instructions and then Samuel spoke to Saul. And maybe Samuel wasn't as clear. Like maybe he said, yeah, you got to go and destroy it all and sacrifice everything for the Lord. But I'm not sure if he was as clear in his instruction as God might have been to Samuel. So can we blame Saul? Like it's the times, right? It's the time, the sign of the times. You're going to be sacrificing things to the Lord. And at that time it was animal sacrifice. Like a lot of that was animal sacrifice. So you're supposed to give the Lord the best of what you have. You were supposed to sacrifice this oxen and burn the best parts of it for God. That's what you're supposed to do. So I don't really blame Saul here. I really feel like there was some miscommunication, might not have been entirely his fault. And armies are made up of loads of people, and people need food. So there's probably another aspect of this where Saul's like, we got to march all the way back home. And we might have blown through all our provisions marching to Amalite and then waging this war, which it doesn't even say how long it lasts. I can't even imagine it'd be one day and you're like, boom, that place is just annihilated. In today's time, yeah, because you could just press a button, or you could wonky with the EMF and like mess everybody up to do that. What? Well, oh, wait, no, sorry. That's a conversation for another time. Anyway, back to this. The weaponry available in biblical times, if we are to believe the Bible, the weaponry available is swords and sword, shield, like maybe siege machines. Like I'm not sure if we're there with a catapult or a trebuchet. I'm not sure if we're there yet, but we might be. Ladders for sure. You got to get up. So like probably these big war ladders that would be wheeled up against walls. And I haven't confirmed, but I'm wondering, what about it? Do we know another story that involves war for a long, long time? Like the Trojan War, right? We know a couple of stories. The Iliad I'm referring to specifically. And they had all manner. They had crossbows at that point. They had swords. They didn't really have explosionary things. So my point is, it probably took some time for Saul to wage this war, to get there, for his armies, first of all, to travel and get there. And then they had to wage this war and they killed everybody. That's going to take some time, especially because people are going to hide, they're going to run away. And the instructions were clear: kill all the people. And that part, I believe Saul really did do. There's no evidence that he brought back servants or anything. He basically just said, yeah, we're going to bring the best of the best back to our camp, like our hometown. And when we celebrate our big win, that's when we're going to offer up the rest of this stuff. But they did bring back sheep and oxen. And when Samuel went to check on behalf of the Lord that Saul did everything he was told, Samuel discovers he didn't kill the sheep and the oxen. And he's like, I'm going to have to talk to God about this. So, Samuel's a little bit of a tattletale. And he goes and he's like, hey, God, Saul did the thing, except for this 5%. Like he brought back these animals and he didn't sacrifice them to you. So what do you think about that? And God got pissed. He was like, did I stutter? I said, wipe it all out. Not even the lamb, the oxen, not even the sheep. None of that was supposed to live. It was supposed to be obliterated. So now I'm kind of pissy. And I'm going to take my favor away from Saul. He's no longer the king of my king. That's it. He didn't follow my instructions all the way through. He left a gap. Now, why might it be important to kill every living thing in Amalek? Why? Is there a potential for something to survive if the sheep and the oxen were not also killed? Is that what we are to infer? Like, why would God need all of the animals? Like, every living thing? Why? Why would he need that? We're not sure. We can speculate all we want there. But the point is, Saul didn't do it all, and God took his favor away. But here's something I really want you to pay attention to, because it's important. Like, Samuel tells Saul, and they were buds. They were the best of friends. And Samuel has to tell Saul, God is like turning his favor away from you, and he's taking away your King of Kings title. Like, he's not going to set you up in Israel, like in your cushy position anymore. And Saul is devastated. And he's like, what am I going to do? And he just sort of goes and he hides in his castle. He's just like, ugh, I'm devastated. But I really want you to hear this. The Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. And then Saul's servants said unto him, Behold now, an evil spirit from God troubleth thee. Let our Lord, Saul, not big capital L, no. Let our Lord now command thy servants which are here before thee. So like in your household, pick someone from your household to seek out a man who is a cunning player on the harp. Bad word. Bad word. Cunning suggests an element of deception here, cleverness and deception. Maybe it's not such a bad word, actually. But it's, anyway, let's continue. A cunning player on the harp. And it shall come to pass when the evil spirit from God is upon thee, that he shall play with his hands, and thou shalt be well. What did his servants tell him to do? He didn't just say, hey, get your best musician here, play a little ditty, and it'll cheer you up. No, they were pretty specific. Get a person who's cunning. So get a person who knows the instrument, not just able to make some music, but someone who knows the mysteries of sound. And they will play this instrument while you are sick with this evil spirit from God. And when you hear this music played by this person who knows the mystery of music, you will be healed. And we're going to come back to statements like this. We're going to find the rest of these that are in the Bible that refer to this. Okay, but today we're focusing on David and Goliath. All right. So when does God leave Saul? God leaves Saul as soon as Samuel finds Saul's replacement. All right. So God is disappointed with Saul. Saul feels the disappointment of God and runs back into his villa and like is pretty much just there, right? He's hiding. He's like, oh no, I did this thing and it's terrible. And he's feeling awful. He's sad. He's, there's all sorts of stuff. He's got an evil spirit from God. So this is where we can wonder, are there multiples here? Or is God basically saying, I'm punishing you with this evil spirit? Or did God just not deflect a demon for Saul and just allowed the demon to come and hang out with him and like live with him in his disappointment? Maybe the demon's the demon of disappointment and deeds undone. I don't know, but I find the wording is pretty interesting. Anyway, fast forward. Here we go. So Samuel is instructed by God to go to Bethlehem and find this dude named Jesse, because God has decided that one of Jesse's sons is going to be the King of Kings, is going to be the King of Israel and the King of Kings. So Samuel's like, okay, but if I leave the palace, Saul's going to be pissed. And God's like, just tell him you're on a mission from Gad. All right, put your Blues Brothers sunglasses on, get a couple of sheep, and make your way over to Bethlehem and just basically tell him that I told you to go there to do a sacrifice for me and to like hang out with the people there. So Samuel's like, oh, I'm really worried about disappointing Saul, but I have to obey the Lord because look what's happening to Saul. I know what's going to happen if I don't obey the Lord. So he goes with a couple of animals and he heads out to Bethlehem, and he asks around town, hey, does anyone know Jesse? You know Jesse? And someone pipes up, I wish I was Jesse's girl. And they're like, settle down there. He's already married. She's popped out 7 kids. He loves her. He's like, Jesse's really committed to his wife and his sons. He has a lot of kids. He has 7 sons. And we don't even know if there are other children. All we know is that he literally has 7 sons because Samuel has been instructed to bring Jesse and his sons forward. So there could be girls. Jesse could have had daughters. We don't know how many kids this couple had, but we know he had 7 sons. And so it comes to pass that Samuel's doing the sacrifice. Word gets around to Jesse, hey, you're invited to this big party, this big sacrifice, but you got to bring all your boys. It's important. And Jesse, he's like, yeah, that's cool. But you know what Jesse does for a living? He is a shepherd. He's got a massive sheep farm, and he's got tons and tons of sheep. And he can't just pack up with his workforce and leave the sheep by themselves. So he's got to leave somebody in charge. I mean, sure, he's got servants, right? I mean, the guy's a landowner with a ton of sheep. He's got servants, but he's not going to just only trust the servants to do this. He's got to leave someone from his household. So he leaves his youngest son, David. He's only 13. He's just a kid. He's getting there. He's learning the ropes. And this, I'm betting Jesse's thinking, this is a great opportunity. I'm only going to be gone a little while. And this is a great opportunity for David to step up and show his leadership, show that he is a member of my household and that he can handle the sheep and the servants out in the field while I and his older brothers are away. This is completely plausible. Do you think as a business person, do you think as a farmer, I mean, really think about a shepherd. Do you think the shepherd's going to be like, oh, I'm being called to this? I'll just leave my flock completely unattended. That's not logical. And it's also not logical to leave only your servants in charge. Maybe if you had the bestest relationship with your servants, but I'm not really sure that's happening here because really a lot of servants at this time are slaves and they are not being treated nicely. So you're probably not going to leave your slaves alone with your sheep. You have to leave someone that you can trust, and you are going to leave your youngest behind because maybe word has gotten to Jesse that, hey, come to this sacrifice because one of your sons is going to be anointed and he's going to be set up to be the next king. And I'm sure Jesse's like, what? I'm not noble. How is this even going to happen? He probably came just for a laugh, just be like, oh yeah, okay, here, yeah, let's see. But he's got 7 sons. And he's got a couple of them that are pretty amazing physical specimens of men. It mentions this in the Bible. It really talks about them. So Jesse comes, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 6. And it came to pass when they were come that he looked on Eliab and said, surely the Lord's anointed is before him. So Eliab is one of Jesse's son. It's probably the first kid that passes in front of Samuel. And Samuel sees this guy who's he's an adult. If David is the youngest and he's 13, 14 around this time, his brothers are older, right? And Eliab is the oldest, right? And he's a fully formed adult male. He's a shepherd. He's probably got a good body on him too, muscular. And Samuel's looking at him thinking, with the eyes of a man, looking, that guy's strong, looks pretty good. He could probably be our next king. And the Lord comes into Samuel's brain and he says, look not on his countenance. Don't look on his eyes or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as a man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh in on the heart. So it's fair. Samuel does not know Jesse, and he does not know these kids, right? He doesn't know these boys, these young men. All he sees is this strapping guy walking in front of him, big muscle guy, tall, probably filled out, looks lean and strong. And Samuel's looks like a hero, because he's looking at him with eyes of a man, and he doesn't know these people. He doesn't know what's in the hearts of these people. So I'm sure Samuel's just like, wow, okay, if it's not Eliab, let's see what the next candidate is. And the next candidate is Abinadab. And he made him pass before Samuel. And he said, neither hath the Lord chosen this. And then Jesse made Shammah pass by. Nope, not that one. And then again, Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. Oh my gosh, pardon me. David must be the 8th son, because if 7 have already gone by, David's number 8. So I apologize. Here we go. And Samuel said unto Jesse, the Lord hath not chosen these. So basically all these 7, no. And then Samuel's like, but this is really weird, because God really told me he's like one of your sons. And every time someone walked by in front of me, the Lord was telling me, nope, 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 nope. So do you have any more kids? Do you have any more boys? Do you have another son you haven't told us about? And Jesse's like, well, yeah, I got a young one, but he's young. He's super young. And he's looking after my sheep for me so I could be here with you, with all of my boys. And Samuel's like, go get him, because the Lord is in my brain right now, and we're not going to rest until he gets here. And if I get the okay, we're all good. And if not, I don't know what we're going to do here. So Jesse sends for David, right? And when David comes, Samuel gets the A-okay from God, right? So whatever happens, he looks at David and he's looking at him. And here's how he is described. And he sent and brought him in, right? Now he was ruddy and withal of a beautiful countenance and goodly to look on. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. So we know that David's good looking, and he's ruddy. He's probably that 13, 14-year-old boy that's got that little bit of pink to his cheeks all the time. He's looking slightly flushed a little bit, and he's got a nice face. He's got a nice face. He has a nice way about him, right? And his body is pretty good. And God's like, that's the one. So Samuel's like, okay, message received. This is the one. And then this is where things go bad for Saul, because as soon as Samuel anoints David, that's when Saul feels the loss of God. And that's when his servants are like, you should get someone to play a musical instrument for you. So guess what? Guess what happens? Hey, Kiki here. That was just part 1 out of 3. If you want to find out what happens when Saul meets David, come back and I will tell you. In the meantime, check out Fl'AwesomeBlossom.com And don't forget, my bloomin' blossoms, my precious petals, et mes petits choux, live your life in full Fl'awesome Blossom. I will see you next time.